The President's Defense Secretary, Leon Panetta, appeared on Your World with Neil Cavuto on November 16 and said, and I quote, "The President of the United States and other world leaders need to recognize that this is not a time to just kind of sit back and hope that somehow this enemy will go away." The President's other Defense Secretary, Robert Gates, appeared on Your World with Neil Cavuto 4 days later on November 20 and said, "We have all along underestimated ISIS." These are coming from the people who worked with him. Do you acknowledge that?
All right, well, the president says the ISIS strategy that he has in place will remain in place and nothing will change. Today, signs of cracks within his own party increasingly coming from people concerned the president might be botching it. James Rosen from the White House with the very latest on that. James, good to see you. I particularly like, James, how you kept quoting me and my show, so whatever you need, the check is in the mail. Now, besides that, though, this concern that the White House is trying to say the strategy that it has is fine, but now increasingly a number of Democrats saying, no, it's not fine, you got to change something, and it seemed from what you were hearing from Josh Earnest, not a significant change there.
Neil, good afternoon. No, that's quite right. Just more Beltway noise. People in Washington. That is how the White House brushed aside statements made by members of the president's own war cabinet and his own party who have openly challenged the commander-in-chief's strategy for combating ISIS. The president returned early this morning to American soil following a 10-day trip to Europe and Asia, where he faced repeated questions in the wake of the Paris attacks about whether he has underestimated ISIS. That criticism has come in part from two of Mr. Obama's defense secretaries, Robert Gates and Leon Panetta, both former CIA directors as well, in appearances on this very program.
I just want to be clear that you understand that the criticism of this effort is extending beyond the usual precincts, correct? Mm-hmm. To include people that work for this president.
To include people in Washington, D.C., and they're certainly entitled to their opinion. I don't think that either of those individuals would deny the seriousness with which the president has taken this issue or the complexity of arriving at a solution that is consistent with our national security interests.
Shortly before the Paris attacks, President Obama had told ABC News that his coalition approach has served to, quote, contain ISIS in Syria and Iraq. French authorities now say the mass casualty attacks in the City of Light earlier this month were directly planned from ISIS headquarters in Syria.
This has gone on too long now, and it has not gotten better. It's gotten worse. There may be some land held by ISIL in Iraq and Syria that's been taken back. But for all of that, there's much more they have gained in other countries.
All of this coming as President Obama prepares to meet here in Washington tomorrow with French President François Hollande. The White House really wouldn't give us much of a preview of what the president expects to accomplish in that. And as for my quoting your show in the White House press briefing room earlier today, Neil, let's just say that those quotes had the added benefit of being true. Back to you.
You know, I'm very curious, though, because it's interesting. The administration's approach, I guess, is look at what we've done in the past when we've gone full gangbusters with bombs and everything and tried to change the course of the Middle East. And it hasn't worked. So his strategy seems to be, I don't want to do that again. What isn't clear, it seems, is what is he doing now, right? That's the gist of it.
Well, the problem here is that if you ask the president and his aides on any given day how it's going in our effort to combat ISIS, and the president himself said we're going to destroy them, what you really hear is we're making progress, there have been setbacks, and we've always said this is going to take a long time. And so if that's always going to be the answer on day 2 of the operation and on day 366 of the operation, it seems effectively to remove the president and his aides from accountability on this issue for exactly how well it's going or not.
Well put. James Rosen, thank you very much. James at the White House. All right, so is this a problem of just a tin ear or no ear at all? Former Army Ranger Sean Parnell joining us. Sean, what do you think? What are you hearing from the White House or not hearing that concerns you?
Well, I'm concerned with the leading from behind strategy overall. I mean, I think that we have a unique opportunity to unite the world against a common enemy that we haven't seen since World War II. And I think it's critically important that the United States of America leads that coalition and leads that union as opposed to sitting on the sidelines and leading from behind.
You know, Sean, obviously no one doubts the fact that we could lead and would do a great job leading. I think the president seems to be saying we've done that. A lot of lives have been sacrificed, and for what? The terror continues. The terrorists continue. And we've got to come up with something different. Now, he seems to be not very clear on what his different plan would be, but it's a clear repudiation of prior plans that involve full-scale American bombing campaigns or strafing campaigns. What do you think of that and what he is saying, that this is a zero-sum game? I came into office as Barack Obama vowing to eradicate that sort of stuff and extricate ourselves out of this region, and I sure as heck are not going back to that.
Well, I think you're right. I think it is a clear repudiation of a prior administration's strategy. But what I would say is that you don't need 100,000 troops to defeat ISIS in Syria and Iraq. You do exactly what Secretary of Defense Gates said. You let our special operations forces in Iraq actually operate and do what they're trained to do, close with and destroy the enemy.
Well,
and
how many men and women would that be?
I would say we could probably accomplish the mission with 10,000 troops both in Syria and Iraq. And I think what you do is you send in Delta Force, you've got Rangers, you've got Navy SEALs conducting high-value target raids, and then you've got simultaneously United States Army Green Berets conducting foreign internal defense and identifying people who would rise up and help secure the country and conducting unconventional warfare. That's what these guys are trained to do. You know, a half-hearted bombing campaign is going to see limited success on the battlefield unless it's followed up with clear and consistent pressure from ground troops, both exploiting the objective area, gathering intelligence, and capturing the enemy so that we can develop some human intelligence that's critically important to finding the enemy in other places, rooting out the enemy both in Syria and Iraq. So I think, look, the bottom line is that I'm telling you what we need to do from a military standpoint to win this fight. Whether or not we can do it politically, I don't know. But I'm telling you, we need to put boots on the ground to accomplish the mission.
And you're saying 10,000 boots. When I had John McCain here, Lindsey Graham, similarly, they've been talking about 90,000 additional boots, not necessarily our boots, but 90,000 coalition boats, in countries in the region. What do you make of that?
Look, I saw that show, and I saw that you had Democratic Representative Tulsi Gabbard on, and I have to say that I agree with her 100%. I question the wisdom of sending in 90,000 troops both in Iraq and Syria. I don't think it's necessary. I also don't think that we have to go in with the intent of bringing Jeffersonian democracy to Syria and to Iraq. I think that we need to focus our mission very clearly on defeating ISIS. They are the clear and present danger. They're an existential threat to everybody in the world, to include people from the United States of America. And I think that once we defeat ISIS, I think that we can work diplomatically to remove Assad from the equation. But right now, ISIS needs to be the clear priority, no question.
Yeah, and as to your point earlier, what we're doing isn't working, so obviously you got to do something else. Sean, it's always a pleasure seeing you. I hope you have a safe Thanksgiving.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving to you and your family as well, Neil. It's always great being here with you.
I appreciate that. All right.